The Verdant Academy gleamed like a jewel against Sanctuary's perpetual twilight. Commander Julia Reeves stood in the courtyard, watching her students practice basic survival skills with the enthusiasm of children who'd never faced real danger. Sanctuary was a garden world, Class 2 habitability, where the most dangerous creature was a herbivore the size of a rabbit. Julia missed Earth's mountains, her planet's endless creative ways to kill the unwary. But the teaching contract paid well, and after 15 years in the Colonial Marines, she'd earned some peace. Commander Reeves? Headmaster Zelln's translator rendered his chittering into apologetic tones. We have a situation. The situation had a name, Scrath. He was Vrokti, a species whose adults could tear through hull plating with their bare claws. At 6 standard years old, Scrath barely reached Julia's shoulder, his obsidian scales dull with stress. The other instructors had refused to work with him, not because he was dangerous, but because he wasn't. His reflexes are normal Vrokti speed, Zelln explained, mandibles clicking nervously. But he's never made a kill, not even training simulations. His family sent him here hoping civilization might compensate for his deficiency. Julia studied the young Vrokti. He wouldn't meet her eyes. His claws retracted so far she could barely see them. Shame radiated from every scale. He's assigned to my class, she said simply. Commander, if he cannot protect himself, how can you? I'm from Earth, Headmaster. We have a saying, those who can't do, teach. Those who can't kill, learn to defend. She knelt before Scrath. You ever start a fire, kid? His head snapped up, confused. Fire is dangerous. Exactly. Julia smiled. Let me tell you about my hometown. We had bears, wolves, mountain lions, venomous snakes, and that was just the wildlife. Humans aren't the biggest or the fastest or the strongest. But we're still here because we learned to make dangerous things work for us. The field exercise was meant to be simple. 3 days in Sanctuary's forests, testing navigation and foraging skills. Julia's class consisted of 20 students from 15 species, diplomats' children, every one of them accustomed to climate-controlled safety. Scrath stayed close to Julia, his presence making the other students nervous. On the second day, he finally spoke. Why do you carry that? He gestured to the crude spear she'd carved from a branch. Because I can't run 40 miles per hour or bite through bone, Julia said, testing the point's sharpness. So I give myself reach, leverage, force multiplication. Predator compensation for prey limitations. But you're the teacher. You're supposed to be superior. Kid, back home, a house cat could shred me if it wanted. Superiority is about adaptation, not factory settings. She handed him the spear. Feel the balance? The attack came at dusk. Sanctuary's gentle ecosystem had an exception. Canyon stalkers? Ambush predators that emerged during eclipse season. The guide AIs hadn't updated for the irregular cycle. 3 stalkers, each massing twice Julia's weight, erupted from the undergrowth. The students scattered, screaming. Their expensive education hadn't included what to do when something wants to eat you. Julia's training kicked in instantly. Scrath, get them to the rocks. Move now. The Vrokti froze. His instincts should have engaged, should have turned him into a whirlwind of claws and fury. Instead, he stood paralyzed as a stalker charged. Julia hit it with her spear, striking its eye. The weapon shattered, but the stalker veered away, screeching. She grabbed a burning branch from the campfire and thrust it at the second stalker, yelling in a language it couldn't understand, but her posture made clear. I am not prey. Scrath! She threw him her knife. You don't have to kill it. Just make it think you might. The third stalker circled toward the students huddled against the rocks. Scrath stood between them, the knife shaking in his claws. The stalker hissed, preparing to pounce. Make yourself big, Julia shouted, fending off her own stalker with the torch. Noise, aggression. Humans call it a bluff charge. Scrath spread his arms, his scales suddenly flaring outward in a threat display he'd never used. He roared. Not the killing scream of Vrokti warriors, but a desperate, protective sound. The knife flashed in the firelight. The stalker hesitated. This wasn't prey behavior. This was something else. Scrath slashed at the ground, scarring the earth. He didn't have a killer's instinct, but Julia had taught him something better. A defender's resolve. The stalker backed away, confused by the small creature that refused to run, refused to submit. Julia drove her burning branch into the ground between them and the stalkers, creating a wall of fire. The predators retreated into the darkness, seeking easier prey. When dawn came and rescue arrived, Julia found Scrath sitting apart from the others, staring at his claws. "I didn't kill it," he said quietly. "A real Vrakti would have. A real Vrakti would have protected those kids, which is exactly what you did." Julia sat beside him. "Listen, Earth spent millions of years teaching humans a lesson. You don't have to be the apex predator to survive. You just have to be too much trouble to eat. My family will be ashamed. Your family isn't here. Those students are alive because you stood your ground. That's not weakness, Scrath. That's courage. And courage is choosing to protect even when every instinct says run." The galactic news feeds picked up the story within days. The human teacher who fought canyon stalkers with primitive weapons. The defective Vrakti who saved his classmates without a single kill. But the real story spread more quietly, through diplomatic channels and military academies. Earth had done something no other world had managed. They'd taught a predator species that strength without killing wasn't weakness. It was evolution. Scrath graduated top of his class. He never did develop a taste for hunting, but he became something his species had never produced. A protector. He joined the galactic peacekeeping forces, where his human-taught tactics, intimidation, territorial defense, strategic retreat, revolutionized how conflicts were de-escalated. And Julia? She stayed at Verdant Academy, though her course was renamed. It was no longer basic survival. Now it was death world integration, learning to fight like prey. Because humans had learned eons ago what the galaxy was just discovering. The greatest predators aren't those who kill the most efficiently. They're the ones who know when not to kill at all, and have the courage to stand between the vulnerable and the void anyway. That was humanity's gift. Not teaching predators to be more lethal, but teaching them something far more dangerous. Restraint powered by choice, not fear.